and welcome. My name is Wendy Blum. Today we're going to be talking with Democratic primary candidate for state representative for Middlesex 17, Vanna Howard. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Wendy, for having me.
Sure.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. Can you tell us something about your background and experiences that qualify you to represent the people in this district?
Thank you, Wendy, for that great question. You know, I have lived or worked here in this great, incredibly diverse community for more than 2 decades. I have immersed myself in this community, you know, serving on 10 plus community boards. I have been in every neighborhood. I have, dedicated my time and energy and efforts for its well-being. I have been to every neighborhood. People know they can reach me. They can, when they need. And I've been part. You know, I worked for Congresswoman Nikki Tsongas for 12 years as her Greater Lowell Regional Director. Now I'm at Lowell TeleMedia Center. You know, fighting for quality health care. But prior to Congresswoman Nikki Tsongas' office, I worked for the District Attorney's Office, both Middlesex and Suffolk County DA's office for 13 years. You know, in this city, this wonderful city, I have been to every meetings, events, initiatives. I've been part of every discussion, every city for the well-being of this community. The 10 plus community boards that I serve on, the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Lowell, Mill City Grow, CMAA, the Lowell Housing Commission, the Massachusetts, Asian American Commission, just to name a few. So I have been part of these communities for almost 3 decades. I have seen businesses, strive and survive, and I have seen everything that has been part of the discussion. And everything, I have been there, and people have trusted me, and they have encouraged me actually to run for this seat, to be their voice, to be the voice of change on Beacon Hill.
Well, speaking of change, how do you think the district has been represented in the State House, and how would you change things?
Thank you. I am running because this district needs change. We need someone who is an accomplished. We need someone who is responsive, who truly represents the values of this incredibly diverse community. We need change. Our district needs change also in how our community is heard on Beacon Hill, and on Beacon Hill for our community, and by who. And so I believe that my voice, my ability to listen, and my approach to political objectives are best suited, to address the critical issues that we are facing today.
Could you be a little more specific about how you would be a different representative, how you would approach things differently?
Well, responsiveness, accessibility, transparency are very important. We need a full-time representation for our issues. For the last 22 years, our district, we have not seen a full-time representative in this district for a very long time. So again, we need someone who will be responsive, an accomplished person, to represent the values of this community.
This race is very unusual because one of the candidates is indicted on many counts. What do you have to say to that?
Those are serious charges, 28 indictments. I have read the indictment, and those are serious charges. We need a full-time, this district, our district needs full-time representative. Mr. Nangle needs to address these charges. These are not, charges such as drive through a red light. These are 28 serious federal criminal charges. The district deserves to hear about those charges from Mr. Nangle. If proved, would completely breach. If proved, would completely breach the oath of his office and a promise to those who supported him.
And my understanding is that if he were convicted of these charges, he would have to give up his seat in the state.
Correct.
House.
And that would open up a special election. And why putting the district, the voters, through that again?
There's so many changes that have been happening in Massachusetts very recently, one of which is changes in how the police are perceived. Tell us about your ideas about changes to policing in Massachusetts and whether there should be a support the House bill, which would create a 7-person police standards and training commission for oversight.
Great. That's a really great question. You know, I worked for the district attorney's office for 13 years, for 4 different district attorneys, both in Middlesex and Suffolk for 13 years. And the defund the police, the concept is yet to be defined. So I could not agree with that. Instead, the phrase is just one of the protest points in the nationwide effort to halt the police brutality, you know, upon people of color, and too often with impunity, and the allocation of police resources clearly should be reviewed at any instance, and then as well as to improve the oversight of better training, better vetting, and better supervision, from our police officers. I believe that our police officer, if they commit crime, they should not be able to shield, to shield by their badges, to shield by their badges for the civil damages, for the crimes they commit.
So that's changes to qualified immunity so that they aren't so immune to bad behavior.
Exactly. The officer needs to be held accountable. If they committed egregious act, they should not be protected.
Yeah. And do you think that that's also true here in Lowell with the Lowell police? Do you think there should be changes?
I was encouraged that our chief of police, Kelly Richardson, whom I have known going back to my DA's office, I was encouraged that he put out a statement denouncing the police brutality, and to put together to create a citizens advisory committee, and that's a good start. And to ban chokehold, as he stated, never happened here before, but to put it in writing and to have it, and then it's a good start to have a trust in our community. We need to bring back community policing. Mm-hmm. We need police at our playgrounds. We need police at precincts. We need community policing and trust and care, and police in the neighborhoods. Perhaps we can have police, living in different precincts, different neighborhoods, so that we have the police will have the trust of the community again. And so, right now I don't know how many police officers are in the city of Lowell. It used to be 300. That's the number that's appropriate, adequate for the community, for the city of Lowell, and to have 150 firefighters. And so, yeah, we need community policing back, and we need the trust between the police and the community. And change is hard, change is hard, but change for the better, to have a trust in our community, in our police, and to have citizens advisory community is very important. To be at the table, we all held to a higher standard as police, and we as civilian citizens, we are held to a higher standard. So there's no difference there. So, but if police officers committed crime, they need to be held accountable, and they shouldn't be hide behind their badges and shield them from civil damages and for their crimes.
And piggybacking on that, do you support the DEI letter that was submitted to the City Council and voted down 5-4?
I did. I support it, and I actually signed on it. I'm a member of the DEI consortium when it was created and formed back last year in August, so I was proud to support that. Again, we need change. We need to address racism. Is a public health crisis. There's data after data after data showing that the community of color, our Black and brown, brothers and sisters, disproportionately impacted, their health outcomes, during this COVID-19, our Black, population are being hit, by this COVID-19. The percentage of it is higher than any other race. The police brutality, again, we watch, what happened to George Floyd, to Breonna Taylor, to so many of our Black brothers and sisters that, prior to that. And change is hard, but change has to, we need to address that it is a public health crisis, and we can address it and we can move forward.
Okay, great. How do you think that Governor Baker is doing with his response to COVID-19? He and his administration are doing a good job. We're in Massachusetts. We have the lowest positive COVID-19 rate right now, and with the task force that he formed, early, a few months ago, to have that, and to slowly, getting us back to what the new normal look like. I think he and his administration and the task force are doing a good job in keeping all of us safe in here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. What do you think is going to happen in the fall when all the college students come back? Do you have any ideas? Nobody really knows.
Nobody really knows, but schools, need to be open safely. So I have seen, and read different plans put in place right now, and so we need to have our HVAC system, our filter system checked on a regular basis, clean surface, enough soaps and hand sanitizers. Again, teachers, they want to teach. They want more than anything to teach students in the classroom, face to face. But we have to do it safely, and everyone are working really hard to make sure this happens, to make sure that teachers, staff, and everyone are safe. Buses, our janitorial are all working hard to make sure that before the school can reopen, are safe for everyone. And students, however what other means. Any means, or virtually, in person, or hybrid, or anyhow, they will learn. But they have to be, to make sure that to return to school or colleges, public school, that are safe. And we need to follow science. We need to be smart. Science is the key right now. And so, but everyone are working really hard to make that happen. So
yeah. I think one of the big issues is assuring that there's equity in virtual learning. Do you have any suggestions on if the students can't go back to school, how can we make sure that every student has an equal opportunity to get an education?
That's a great question. Again, everyone, staff, teachers, student, parents, guardians need to come to this and discuss how does that look, to all the students. How do they going to get adequate education and learning if it's virtual learning, if we should have the second wave. And I want to see equity I want to see tax equity apply to the wealthy and the corporations to pay their fair shares of taxes, on taxes, on their income. They need to pay their fair shares. And so if we can get started on that immediately to get that tax equity, that would solve a lot of, our budgets, especially our school budgets,
Yes, that was another one of my questions. How do you think the tax structure is right now in Massachusetts? Is there room to raise taxes to increase services during this pandemic, during this unemployment?
I mean, Massachusetts, we have 17% unemployment right now. We need to raise taxes on the wealthy, on the corporations. They need to pay their fair share. It's far too long overdue. They need to do that. They need to pay, their fair share in order to address all the shortfall in the budgets.
And how would you say state money should be allocated for transportation, public transportation versus highways, or both, or how would you adjust that?
It's everything. What you just mentioned are all important. We need tax equity. We need the wealthy to start paying their fair share in order to address all these issues. I mean, these are our issues: school, transportation. We need safe transportation. People right now are afraid to take transportation, and schools and budget. As soon as we make that decision to tax, to make the wealthy and the corporation to pay our fair shares, it's been far too long. Employees making 15% paying more taxes than their bosses. That isn't fair, and that's just why we are in right now. We have millionaires that paying so little into our society, and until we address that issue by making sure the wealthy and the corporation pay their fair shares in taxes, we can solve a lot of issues that we are facing right now in our Commonwealth.
What is your opinion on evictions right now? Evictions are banned through October or into October. Do you think that should be extended? What will happen if everyone gets kicked out of their house?
That's a great question. During this pandemic, we need to prevent evictions and foreclosures. If you kick people out, evict people out, where would they go? Especially in this pandemic, where we need adequate, stable housing for folks to stay, so that we can continue to, address the pandemic, to flatten the curve. So if you kick people out on the street, you'll see rise in the pandemic. People need adequate housing for many reasons, for mental issues, for many reasons. Especially during this pandemic, they need to be housed, and our homelessness needs to be housed. I mean, if you need mental health, it's already hard to get mental health, services. But if you're trying to survive on the street, it's even much harder. So you need adequate housing, to address this pandemic, and food, housing, shelter over your head is very important. That's the first important thing, is to have housing. And for our landlords, for our loaners to prevent foreclosure for our landlord as well. So the landlords don't get, in trouble like in this, to not, so prevent foreclosures and eviction is the right thing to do, for our society, especially now during the pandemic.
So you would allocate state funds to help
Absolutely,
do that?
absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think the most pressing needs are in this particular district?
Right now, housing, employment. We need to get people back to work safely. We need economic recovery. at this moment, economic recovery is so, so urgently need right now. And again, I mentioned earlier, preventing foreclosures and evictions. We need to restore our medical and educational institutions, and I want to see our tax equity, tax equity tax on the wealthy and the corporation pay their fair share on their incomes, and I want to move forward towards eliminating fossil fuels, for our energy needs, as well as in-state construction, vehicles and equipment purchases. And so, but economic recovery, housing and jobs, employment, those are very important right now, and getting people back to work.
Are there any committees you're especially looking at if you got into the House?
Gosh, I'm trying to,
just get in.
Win the primary just to get in.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
That's okay.
Well, I like math and high tech, so perhaps Ways and Means and technology committees.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Well, President Trump has been sending troops in to states that do not want them. What would you suggest that Massachusetts do if President Trump sends troops to Boston or Springfield?
The governor needs to stand up and say, what do we need them here for? What for? We're in Massachusetts. We are, with the pandemic, we're doing fine. We don't need, so I hope that the governor and the mayor of Boston, I hope, make the right decision to say no to that. Unless there's something that I'm not aware of that we need that, but I don't see why Massachusetts would need that here now in Massachusetts. And I hope that the governor and the mayor would do the right thing for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Yeah. And for U.S. Senator, do you have a preference between Markey or Kennedy?
They're both great men, and whomever get elected will represent this great Commonwealth of Massachusetts well. I support both men. And like I said, when Senator Markey ran the first time, when he came to the city of Lowell, we got behind him and supported him, and he was successful, And so they both good men. And so I know whomever, made it through and successfully will represent this Commonwealth now for this in Massachusetts, yes. And we have a wonderful, female senator, and Senator, Elizabeth Warren.
Yes.
That's another powerhouse.
Yes. Well, we're waiting to see if she has another job coming up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, is there anything else you want to tell voters?
I when I decided to run for this district, I think I'm the most experienced candidate. In this district, I have, I am known here in the community. People know how to reach me or hear from me. My candidacy represents the voice for all on Beacon Hill, and and we need, and not just for a few, for all, and for all the issues that we have, that we need to have here, actually being heard and addressed there on Beacon Hill. So I've been in this community for a long time. I have participated, collaborated in everything that's going on in this community for a very long time. And I've been to and you have seen me in almost everything, sometimes 4 times a day, at different events. So I have been, in this community for a long time, and for more than 2 decades. I have been part of the discussion, the solution, and for this community for a long time.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for watching.